Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to kick off and say to you, warm welcome, and thank you very much for joining us again on this beautiful, now sunny Friday afternoon in Joburg. It's my privilege to be able to host another Free Friday Lunch webinar, our 33rd one rather, on the topic of the importance of sustainability, also as far as leadership is concerned. So I head up a company called the Southern African Leadership Development and Training Institute, where we believe in growing leaders and impacting results. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. I would suggest you handle the content simply picking the areas that I'm going to discuss with you and cover with you where you feel you need to do the most work. Focus on those areas in terms of addressing the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. Please mute unless you want to ask a question, and preferably do that at the end if you don't mind, given our time constraint. I'll aim for 3 minutes of Q&A at the end. Please mail me if you would like to be added to the distribution list, if you didn't get this directly from me, and if you don't get these invitations on a monthly basis, please mail me, please, with future topics, things that along the lines of emotional wellness, mental health, leadership, self-leadership, team interactions, team dynamics. Those are all the spaces, soft skill solutions, soft skills, those are all the spaces that I operate in. And I'm going to, at some point, run out of ideas. So I would love your contribution as far as that's concerned. This recording will be available on our website sometime towards the end of next week. The last webinar of last month will be available also sometime next week. As a reason for that, we had a technical issue around that, and I needed to just address that, but that's sorted. And both last month and this month's, or today's video rather, or webinar recording will be available next week. And then just a kind request, please take your hands off the keyboard. And I probably should get a mechanism, and I've tried it and I've Googled it, but it didn't work, around not enabling anybody or to make marks on the screen. Please don't make dots and funny things on the screen if you don't mind. We are recording these also for other people and for other users. Right, so please go to Resources Insights if you want to get access to all the previous Free Friday Lunch webinar recordings, but also blogs and other good stuff that will hopefully add value to your life. Just a reminder, and this is my disclaimer, I don't have the magic wand. You don't attend one of these sessions and then you just consistently operate at another level as far as the topic's concerned. No, you don't. It takes time and it takes effort and it takes intent to practice these things, and that's how we change our habits and we become better at it. I'm here to give you different perspectives. It's a question of giving you some new insights, tools, methods, techniques that you might not have been aware of, that you can possibly use. And hopefully that will pave the way to you doing things differently better in the future, also as far as today's topic is concerned. I always invite you to reflect, to hold up that proverbial mirror and ask yourself, to what extent can I improve? How can I become better for my own sake and for the sake of everybody around me? And here's another invitation, please, to make our world a better place, specifically in relation to today's topic of sustainability. Please pay it forward. If you see in other people the potential or the opportunity to share with them what I've shared with you, even if it's just sending them the link of the recording, please do so. Right, I'm going to look at the chat box and I want to ask you, please, just checking for my understanding and for all of us, in fact, please can you do me a favor and in the chat box answer this question. If I talk to you about sustainability, what is the one thing? In other words, type in the one word that comes to mind when you hear the word sustainability. I'm going to take a sip of my nice cup of rooibos tea. If you don't mind just typing in the one word that comes to mind when you hear the word sustainability. Endurance, agile, agility, right? One word, okay, being able to stay in the game no matter what. Frostbite, yeah. Anything else? Constant, consistency, lasting, balance. Anybody else? Robust, resilience. Value, deursettingsvermoë, perseverance, right? Good one. Longevity, consistent, survival. Love it. I'm going to give it another 5 seconds and then we're going to get back to the presentation. Right. Love those words. Thanks for your contribution and thanks for your interactions as far as that's concerned. So let's look at it. If we type in sustainability, the AI overview tells us the following. It says sustainability is the practice of meeting present human needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, encompassing environmental, social, and economic dimensions. Now, if we look at those three pillars in that last phrase, we often think of sustainability only as far as environmental sustainability is concerned. What can we do to save planet Earth? But we often neglect social sustainability. In other words, promoting social equity, community well-being, fair labor practices, and access to opportunities and resources for all people. Here's another one, the third one we often forget about as well. Economic sustainability, ensuring long-term financial stability and ethical business practices that contribute to society without depleting natural or social capital for short-term gain. And we will admit and we will agree, ladies and gents, and unfortunately, this is something that some people in business abuse. Some people in politics don't understand. So why is sustainability important? Why does it matter? Well, I'm not going to read through the detail, but ultimately, and one of you said it, survival, longevity. A couple of you said it. It's about long-term survival in all respects. This is the quote I sent out when I sent you the invitation. Sustainability is no longer about doing less harm. It's about doing more good. Came across this little piece of humor, but it's a fact that unfortunately we've got leaders in key positions across politics and across business in general that don't understand the concept of sustainability, that does stuff like that, and which ultimately contributes to that happening across those three pillars that I've just mentioned. That is Gaza or Gaza City then. 2023 is 2025, and I'm not picking sides. I will never pick sides. I don't. I'm here to give you objective facts around the topic at hand, and I don't want to get sucked into the politics. But the point is, surely, from both ends, there should have been a better way to do things than that. Not sustainable, you would agree. And remember, if we talk about sustainability and the way a lot of us sometimes operate, we forget this. There's no I in team. There's a disease called sinusitis, where I operate only in as far as my own household is concerned, as far as my own team is concerned, as far as my own province, my own race, my own culture is concerned, my own country is concerned, as opposed to looking at the global, the bigger picture. No, if we as a band just play well, that's okay. That's all that matters, right? No, it's not, because we're the band on the Titanic. The fact that other people are battling to save the ship is also relevant, and we need to try and assist and jump in. It's not only about us. And the same concept applies in all spheres of our lives. Here's the reality. We refer to politicians and people in business that don't have a sustainability mindset. We can only pray to them. You can pray for them rather to your God. I can pray for them to my God. But let's get it closer to home. Let's talk about the things you and I are in control of. Things that you and I can influence. What can you do? What can I do to ensure and support sustainability? At home, at work. And here's the thing. In those two areas of our lives, at home and at work, we can't adopt two different approaches. No, we can't do that. I once coached somebody, and in finalizing coaching objectives, I asked this person, is emotional intelligence an issue in your life? Or the lack thereof? And he said, not really. And in the way he said it to me, in the way I experienced his response, I realized there's something more here. So I asked a follow-up question. I said, "What do you mean? Tell me, how's it at work?" He says, "No, at work, it's fine." He says, "But at home, it's not great." So I said, "But why is it different at home and versus at work?" He said, "You know what? At work, I can't lose my cool. I can't lose my temper because if I throttle somebody, I will be fired." He said, "But at home, I'm the man. I shout, they jump, they run." So I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And he was quite proud of that achievement. So I said, "But don't you think you can be fired at home as well?" So he looked at me strangely, he squinted and he said, "What do you mean?" So I said, "Well, your wife might find a nicer guy where she finds it to be nicer around with, that's the right expression, and just somebody that she would rather would like to be with, that does not scream at her, that does not lose his cool. And then she might effectively fire you by divorcing you." Sure. And then he started to his ears started to perk up. And I said, "Your kids, where are they in life?" He said, "No, they're late to high school." So I said, "Your kids are going to leave home soon, and then they might go to university or to college or find a job. And guess what? Because you are not a nice guy to be around, because you lose your cool, they might fire you effectively by never coming back home." And then he said, and he admitted, "Okay, let's add emotional intelligence as an issue we need to work on. We can't have different approaches. We need to be consistent if we want to have a sustainability mindset. Wherever we go, we need to apply it in the same way. We need to create that sustainability mindset." And what is that? Well, I came across this definition, which I liked, by Castle and Raymond Nozzi and Mitchell. And it says the following: "The sustainability mindset is a way of thinking and being that results from a broad understanding of the ecosystem, from social sensitivity, and an introspective focus on our personal values and higher self." And here to me is the crux. It finds its expression in actions for the greater good. It finds its expression in actions for the greater good. If I type in "sustainability starts with self," it gives me this. It means individual actions, habits, and personal mindset are the foundational steps for creating a sustainable lifestyle and a more resilient world. It involves developing self-awareness, becoming self-sufficient by meeting personal needs with few external resources, fostering personal health, making responsible financial choices, and taking direct action to reduce one's environmental impact. You see, it starts with self. I'm busy writing my third book. The second book I wrote was about self, and it was about self-leadership because I think it's such a critical part of success in life, of sustainability, and creating a sustainable mindset as well. And chapter one of the book talks about taking charge. You and I, ladies and gents, are not going to develop a sustainability mindset just by chance. We have to be intentional about it. We have to ask ourselves the question: am I leaving any place or situation in a better state than I found it in? Because that to me is the acid test. And hopefully the answer is yes. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." What does this mean, Hekkie? Practically, how can I apply this? Well, I think building on the topic of it starts with self, because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? What are you doing to look after your mind, your body, and your soul? In one of the previous Free Friday Lunch webinars, I showed you a video of Warren Buffett, where he basically spoke to a bunch of students at his alma mater, his college or university where he studied, and he told them the following: "If I were to tell you that I will give you a car for free, any car, you would be happy, right?" Yes, absolutely, we'll be happy. But here's the trick, here's the kicker. You only have the opportunity to drive that one car for the rest of your life. In what way then, if that is the case, are you going to look after this car? boy, oh boy, you're going to look after it. You're going to polish it. You're going to take care of it like no tomorrow. But then why, if we only have one body, one mind, and one soul, don't we look after it in the same manner as the one car that we will have across our whole life? I'm not here to preach to you. I'm not your brother or your father, and I don't want to make you feel guilty. Yes, do I want to make you feel comfortable? Yes, maybe, maybe. Why am I saying this? I can't tell you your habits are bad or good. You have to ask yourself, are the habits that you're currently exercising, that you've acquired, are those habits sustainable? In other words, beneficial to you and the people around you in the long run, in the long term. As far as self's concerned, what are you doing to intrinsically motivate yourself? Or are you only attending are you only going to your job? Are you only experiencing your career to get money, to get that joy on the 25th of the month or whenever you get your pay? Why not focusing on other things? Intrinsic motivators as opposed to extrinsic motivators like pay or bonuses or perks. See what you can do to intrinsically motivate not only you, but also your team members, also at home, by getting them to a point and exposing them to stuff where they say, I want to go to work as opposed to I have to go to work, as an example. One of you said, a couple of you, in fact, said that sustainability is about resiliency. Love this quote from Steve Maraboli: life doesn't get easier or more forgiving, we get stronger and more resilient. What are you doing in your life to make sure you become stronger and more resilient, especially in this world of chaos that we're currently operating in order to survive, in order to survive mentally, especially comfortably? Are you exercising? Do you have habits, hobbies, stuff that makes you de-stress? And what are those? And I want to encourage you to do those things more. So what does it mean in terms of relationship with other people? Well, we have relationship with friends and family. We also have relationship with colleagues. And in those interactions, bearing in mind that relationships are the glue, the super glue that holds everything together, how are we interacting? Are we interacting in a way that we've got a long-term view of benefit for us and them, as opposed to having a short-termism mindset? And may you be not one of those leaders that only drives results or performance, because that's certainly not sustainable. You might get short-term benefits and short-term successes, but believe you me, I've been there. You're not going to have long-term success. We have to believe in relationships as well, also with our team members that report to us. Otherwise, we destroy morale. I came across this a number of times, also as far as clients are concerned, in terms of what I'm doing now for a career, for a living, where leaders are so fixated about cutting costs and effectively saving themselves bankrupt by cutting out employees' access to sugar or limiting them as far as the amount of cups of coffee or tea they can consume every day, which is actually ridiculous. And I want to say to you, Madam Leader or Sir Leader, focus on your top line. You don't need to worry about being petty. I'm not saying you should not have cost control. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying don't cut costs to the expense of the morale of your people. I want to encourage you to create your own story as far as sustainability is concerned. Create your own examples and ask yourself, what can I do to make this world a better place? In what way, across all the areas on my wheel of life, in terms of what I want to achieve, what are the macro areas in which I want to achieve future success? In what way, across all those areas on my wheel of life or my balance wheel, do I do things to support or sustain, or support rather sustainability through my actions and through my words? I had the opportunity to visit my alma mater, and for the fourth year running, to spend time with their newly elected prefects a month and a half ago. For a whole day, I spent time with them. And I tried to get the message across: what is leadership about? And leadership is about many things. We can talk about days for what is leadership about. And I tried to give them a simple concept that they might remember. And I said leadership is about pies, not those kind of pies. Leadership is about giving people perspective where they need perspective. It's about influencing people in a positive manner and leading by example. And the last one is our topic of today, ladies and gents. And that is the fact that leadership is about sustainability, or good leadership is about supporting sustainability in whatever I say and whatever I do. We can only do that and realize where we need to self-correct if we have awareness and if we make time to reflect. We make time to get off the hamster wheel, so to speak, and pause before we engage with life again. Otherwise, we're going to be like a car that we just drive and drive and drive and say to ourselves, I don't have time to stop for fuel. And we all know where that would lead us, because what would happen is, if we can use the analogy of life in the form of a car, our life will stop. The wheel will stop turning. We need to make time to stop, to refuel, in order to be able to go forward with more success. Question is, what is your legacy that you can leave behind? Because I believe sustainability in what you do, and asking yourself, is it sustainable? My actions, my words, is key to the legacy that you can leave behind. I've spoken to you about this before, but for those of you who don't know, my grandfather on my mother's side died when he was 46. 46 years old. I was young. I was 4.5 years old. He was a young grandfather. But I remember him vaguely. But the legacy that he left behind, also in terms of what my mom tells me, and what my grandmother, his wife, told me, is that he was an abusive man. He was an alcoholic, and he was a person that was not nice to be around. And bless his soul. If I could only tell him, I'm turning 55 next month, if I could only tell him at 46, he's just starting to live actually. Why did you make the choices you've made? Because I could never experience you like that grandfather doing woodwork with his grandchild. Because the choices that my grandfather made certainly was not sustainable. Not as far as his choices are concerned, as far as his own habits, neither the choices that he made in terms of interactions with others. And here's the scary part, ladies and gents, is that our legacy is not the legacy we leave behind one day. The legacy, if I drive out here this afternoon and I get hit by a Patco bus and I die, the legacy that I leave behind is the one I leave behind today. And that's why I would like to submit, it's your life, it's not mine, that we take these things more seriously. That is the end. I want to remind you that the plan is on the last day of October to talk to you about why routines seriously matter. I'll do my best to send the invitations to you earlier than today's webinar. I'm going to remind you that those are my details. If I'm not part of your LinkedIn network, please invite me to it. I'll accept. And I'm going to escape at this point. I'm going to stop sharing. And for a change, I got it right to get to allow for 3 minutes of discussion. And I want to ask you for any switching on my video. I want to ask you if you've got any questions, comments, happy with criticism. I appreciate criticism. I might change my mindset based on our discussion. No issues with that. Any thoughts? Silence. As coaches, Getty and Mia will know that we get taught. Just don't say anything. Eventually, somebody will start talking. Or not. So at least, can I just, quiet bunch? Yeah, well, definitely quiet bunch. Can I at least get a thumbs up or thumbs down if what I told you makes sense, and is it worth your while in terms of at least processing the stuff? All good. Thank you very
Yes,
much for
thank
that.
you.
And
This was a very valuable session.
thank you so much. And I'm not fishing for compliments. I promise you that. Thanks, you all.
Okay, Hekkie, thank you. I'm here, and I'm not just saying something to say something, but the irony in this, not knowing what to expect for today's webinar after reading, the alignment of what we spoke about, your body and taking care of your body and looking at it as mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
So it's just been another great reminder that it's very, very important. And we don't
Absolutely.
look at leadership just in the business or workspace, but we look at leadership holistically in
Yeah.
any environment or area of influence. You have the ability to be a leader without the title of what the world says or demands. So thank you very much. It's insightful as always. You're a blessing to us.
It's my pleasure. You're a blessing to me. And by the way, Uncle Redmond is many years younger than I am. We call each other Uncle, and not because he thinks I'm very old. It's because we're part of a organization that mentors boys, the Character Company. If you want to mentor boys, and that's something that you feel as part of your sustainability journey, you can add value to. Please Google the Character Company and join us to mentor boys that don't have fathers in our country. Two-thirds of all boys in our country gets raised without a positive male role model. It's critical if we talk about sustainability that we do those kind of things because that will ultimately ensure sustainability to raise boys that don't have fathers to become good men.